All right, it's 11:30. So The Alchemist. Kenya, did you read it?
I have been reading this book since I was in high school. So I read it over and over again. I connect to a lot of your things, but I have never connected to a book club. But when I saw the post, I was like, oh, I have to do it because this book is so inspirational. And I wanted, I read it in Spanish. So I have my Spanish version and I love how it sounds in Spanish. And so I just wanted to see how you guys interpreted it and how your output on that.
For sure. Jim, did you read the book?
I read a book on alchemy, yes, years and years and years ago. Okay. I don't know if it's the specific one. I got in late before I heard your title, but the one that was on the email notice.
The Alchemist. Yeah, The Alchemist.
I have read a book. I don't know if it's that specific one.
Okay, so I'll jump in and then love for you guys to, have written down, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 quotes. So I'll share some quotes. I'll talk about my thoughts, and then absolutely all of you all that have read the book, or even if you haven't read the book, jump in and give input. This is probably I like to start with my most favorite quotes of the book. So here is a section that I wrote down. Why do they make things so complicated? So that those who have the responsibility for understanding can understand, he said. Imagine if everyone went around transforming lead into gold, gold would lose its value. It's those who are persistent and willing to study things deeply who achieve the master work. I love this because it's so relative to our industry, right? Because it's not really complicated. It does come across that our industry is complicated, but it's really not. Like, I preach this all the time especially with my female friends, where I'm like, well, you got to buy real estate. You got to buy real estate. I can't buy real estate. It's too complicated. So it's the people who commit and then study and improve and educate themselves about it that win and that stay focused. And, it says if everyone was doing it, then it wouldn't be valuable, right? So there's so many little nuggets in just that little section, right? So it's kind of like Barry and I being so involved in social media. Well, the only reason we stand out in social media is because the rest of the world's not there. It's not like we're not any geniuses. We're just doing it, right? And we're educating ourselves.
You're half right. I'm not. You are.
But isn't that true? Like people like, oh my gosh, Barry Wolf, he's a social media genius. And I go, yes, he is, absolutely.
I don't think anybody's ever said that, but dang. No, it's funny. My partner always says, like, with you reference real estate, and he'll always say it. I think it's the way he says it, it's simple but not easy, which is true. It really, it's just like step by step. It really is pretty dang simple, but to do it successfully, like anything in life, it's definitely not easy, but it is simple.
It's like riding my bike in this calendar club challenge, 1 mile every day. It's simple, but let me tell you, today, day 18, it's not easy.
No.
And it was 55 today when I went out. I had my wool cap under my baseball helmet, and I'm going to do a post later on LinkedIn about resistance, because I'm going against the wind. I'm like, I got to find a path where I'm not going against the wind, because it's all about distance and time. And if I am slowed up by 50%, it's going to take me double the time. I need to get on a path where I don't have the resistance. So it's simple, just get on a bike, but it's not easy riding 18 miles.
Not just that, but I think another thing that the book touches upon that's relevant to this is how real estate's simple, right? There are steps everywhere, and you can find that information for free. It's readily available, but you have to find your path. You have to find your way of doing it. There's various ways to market. Which one works in your market? Which one do you prefer? And I think that's a big theme in this book that was one of my favorites, because it's something that is applicable in anything you do in life, whether you're trying to learn a new skill, start a new business, in any industry. And it really, really speaks to that throughout the whole narrative.
Yeah, your personal legend, right? Find your personal legend and keep on the path. I loved the whole discussion about omens, right? Or let's see, they said, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. I think that's so true. You got, they say, well, just put it out there. There's many, many, many things that I have put out there and, written down on goals and reminded myself on my goals and talked about it with other people. And then it happens. I like him, he decides he wants to go to Egypt. So for those of you that haven't read the book, he wants to go to Egypt because there's a treasure there. And at the end of the book, the treasure's not in Egypt. But what is in Egypt is thieves who then tell him about a treasure back in Spain where he came from originally, that he ends up backtracking and then finds the treasure. But had he not gone and to, I forget the place he went before he went to Egypt. He went to this place and then he went through the desert and he spent years trying to get to Egypt, and all of the things that happened to him, that he improved his skills, he got closer to his dream, he got closer to the treasure. But and the book was listening to your heart, and then your heart speaking to you, is that God speaking to you, and then watching for the omens. And one of the things that they talked, another quote that I loved was, let's see, where is that quote? Basically, it's, if you don't listen to your heart will start speaking quieter and quieter. And if you're not paying attention, the voice disappears. That was, like our instincts, right? We're the universe or God or something is talking to us, our own instincts. And if we don't tune in, whether it's meditation, prayer, whatever, we don't tune in to listen to that voice, the voice still talks to us, but it's so quiet we can no longer hear it. I love that. What do you think about that, you guys?
In general, when for me, the main thing that I got from it is that, for example, as you explained, he did a very long travel to find a treasure that was in the first place that he was originally. So when he returns to the place and finds the treasure, he goes back thinking on his journey. And again, he's grateful because during that travel, he met the alchemist, he met his love, Fatima. He met the thieves that, made him to be wiser at some point because he was so naive in some points of the traveling. So when he came back and he found his treasure, he was like super grateful because yes, he found the treasure and the gold, but he found so much more during the path that he had to go through. And it is the same in our lives. We tend to, this book focus a lot also on living the present. I'm gonna read a part in Spanish so you listen to my beautiful voice in Spanish. I don't know how you say. I will translate later, okay? Porque no vivo ni en mi pasado ni en mi futuro. Tengo solo el presente y solo él me interesa. Si puedes permanecer siempre en el presente, entonces serás un hombre feliz. Because I don't live in my past, not in my future. I only live in the present, and that is only the thing that I'm interested on. If you can remain always in your present, then you will be a happy man. Like that's the translation some way. So, so it is important to look forward to your plans and to achieving new things. And it's important to think of your past, to learn from your mistakes. But sometimes we just keep focusing on what hasn't happened or what already happened, and we forgot to live the present and the things that we have to do right now.
I also,
For all of us that have children, right? And they grow up in the blink of the eye, and then you look back and you're nostalgic of, oh, I remember when they were that age, or, oh, I remember that. And to not, they say there's a saying about the past and the future, and that the present is a gift. It's a present, it's a gift, and that we need to focus on the positives that are happening, still have goals, and what's happened is, like you said, learn from things that have happened in the past, but really don't lose sight on what's happening right now. Right?
Yeah.
Nicole, what other things so you finally read the book and you loved it. What did you love about it?
So I want to speak to what Kenya just said and what you asked earlier about the heart. And one thing that I found really, really powerful about the journey and the heart theme is that the heart, it tells you what you desire, but it also has that fear, right? It also can be a barrier, and that balance between knowing what you want and addressing your fears, moving past that part of your heart trying to protect you, is I think it was like the whole thing, like with the omens, right? Like the omens. So just to put it into context of real life, right? Oftentimes my biggest dreams will freak me out, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't do that. No, that's way too scary. But then when I think that's when I tell myself, no, you have to do that. It's scary because you have to do that. And that means you'll grow. And I felt that throughout the whole book. It's like he constantly told himself, well, if I'm scared, I just have to do it. And I'm like, wow, yeah, like that's what we need to do. So I loved that. And then going back to that quote that you said, I also made a comment on that too, because I found that to be such a significant theme in life, where I'm a planner. I love to plan. I love anticipating things. You should see my travel itineraries. They're ridiculous. It's like I went there before I got there. And that's good, but it can also be bad because I'm always living in the future, and I forget to look into today and I forget to look back and say, wow, I did that, and feel accomplishment and feel proud, so that I can have the confidence to know that I can deal with the things in the future. And that quote really spoke to me as well, to both enjoy the present while you're protecting the future. You have to balance that. You can't live a lavish life and spend all your savings and not have a good future. But at the same time, you have to be able to balance that. And that's something that's been beneficial in my marriage, right? I'm a future planner. My husband is a life liver. So he regularly reminds me, like, yes, honey, I know you want to save money, but, maybe we should go on that vacation, or maybe we should do this, and he helps balance that for me. So anyways, that's some comments on it.
I don't know why we have.
It's not me.
Okay, I took care of that. I love that you have that. Your husband. Come on, I think we should go on that vacation. That would be the husband I would want. A couple of things about fear, I obviously I don't, he says the fear of suffering is worse than the fear itself, that's it. I once was about to speak to a large group of people, and I had shared with someone, I said, I'm really afraid. And she said, you're not growing, if you're not fearful, like, that's a sign of growing, to be afraid of something. And exactly that, if you're afraid, that's a sign that you need to do it. The other thing about, they said, there's only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve, and it's the fear of failure. You're not going to achieve your dreams if you let fear stop you. So true, right? I'm sure all of us can think about something we wanted to do, but we're afraid of rejection, afraid of what people would say, afraid that we weren't going to be successful. Like, he had the fear, he had the fear, I'm not going to make it to Egypt, but he took baby steps, right? It took him years to see the pyramids, but like what Kenya said, he met the love of his life. He met the alchemist. He helped the retailer, right? The crystal retailer
Yes.
triple his business. I like that part a lot, the retail success. But all of the life experiences that he achieved by taking the steps, no matter, he sold all of his sheep. He lost all of his money, right? The thief. Oh, you could, I was listening to the book while I was riding my bike. I'm like, oh my God, the guy's going to steal his money. You could just you knew what was coming. But I thought the quote about, where is it? The quote of, if it happens once, it may not happen again, but if it happens twice, it's definitely going to happen a third time. I was thinking, oh, I wonder if that's really true. Now I was trying to go back. What has happened twice that definitely happened a third? That was so interesting. And it did. And it happened a third time. So
I think on that too, is that if it happens twice, you better be prepared in case it happens again, because you really have no excuse.
Well, and there is a saying, like, fool me once, it's your fault. Fool me twice, it's my fault. Right. Yeah. Fool me 3 times, forget it. So yeah. Timothy, did you read the book? Oh, you can't talk? Oh, there you go. Can't hear you. But you are off mute. Nancy, did you read the book? If you can talk. You can't. So these people might be at their desks in their office. I see Kathleen is on. If any of you guys, Kathleen, did you read the book?
No, I didn't. And I'm just so thrilled that I could make one of your book clubs.
I was excited when your name popped up.
I mean, every Friday, when you do it, I put it on my calendar, but there's always a meeting or an emergency. So no, I didn't get to read it, but the part that I have got to listen to it's very inspiring, and there's a lot of truth to it, and that's what I needed to hear.
Awesome. Yeah, it's so funny. I published the books for 2021, so definitely you guys have to check them out. They are a wide range of different topics and different skill sets, and I hope you can join more. But yeah, probably December is, I don't think it's a slow month for Baptist ever, but maybe this week it might be a slow, I don't know. You guys are going crazy over there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's been a very busy week with the vaccines, but we're really super happy.
Very happy. Well, thanks for joining, and just listen to the people that have read the book. And Jim, did you want to jump in?
Just a quick marketing question. Has nothing to do with alchemy, other than the basic theme of this is following your heart. Also, that's very scriptural as well from Matthew. But Kathleen, what do you do for Baptist Health?
I work in their real estate department.
Do you really?
Yes.
You gonna be looking for anything in the Metroplex? Dallas DFW Metroplex?
No.
Oh, I don't blame you for that. But
I always answer like, not yet. I never know. But no,
okay.
I haven't been asked to look out, in that, area yet.
Well, I'm just the perpetual, well, that could be a deal there. Okay. Didn't mean to interrupt. Excuse me, Beth.
That's okay. No problem. Timothy, I see you jumped on. Can you speak?
I switched to my phone. For some reason, my Bluetooth stopped working with my computer. I've only listened to parts of The Alchemist. I'm going to go back because I wanted to hear what you guys had to say. Kind of lost a little interest, but I was on the same path.
Awesome. Yeah. So a couple more quotes. Dreams are the language of God. So I'm not going to get religious, but let me just leave that there. I heard that. I actually stopped the thing and rewound it. Dreams are the language of God. Oh my gosh. I have some really weird dreams, so I don't know what God's trying to tell me. So I thought that was interesting. One of the quotes, intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life. Intuition is really a sudden immersion of the soul into the universal current of life. So intuition and instinct, you know, Oprah always said to especially females, if your instinct is telling you there's danger, listen to your instincts. And but just positively, I remember walking into Terra Nova my first day in 1986, and I knew nothing about commercial real estate. I knew nothing about the people, you know, the 11 people at the new company that I was starting at, but the hair on my arms like rose. I had goosebumps everywhere, and I said, this is the place. And my intuition told me this was the place, and 18 years later, it was the place. So I think it's important that we are quiet enough to listen. Right? Barry, do you have an example of an intuition or an instinct
Oh man.
that you either did or didn't listen to before you have to jump off?
Yeah, sorry, I did. So yeah. I'm trying to think. I think I can think of. I mean, I do rely on that, like in our business, as I'm doing deals, even if this, you know, kind of, even as I'm working with buyers or sellers, you get enough of a, you kind of, we've both been in business long enough where you kind of get a feel, is something real or is it not? Which sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. But yeah, I'd say that. I mean, as far as like in life, nothing I can think of offhand. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah,
but certainly in business to a degree.
I think we have to use it with like reading people, don't you think? Reading people.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely certain things I've kind of learned in life that as we deal with certain people that are like, I kind of like profile people. There are certain things that if I've seen enough times where it kind of keeps replaying, where if I see somebody that's like similar, that I kind of, the hairs on my neck, I'll just be more careful. I'll be paying more attention or watch my back, or there's definitely that, whether it's by hair, I don't even get, but there's definitely some of that where I kind of be more cautious if somebody's got a certain profile that I've kind of been down the road with.
Well, thanks for joining. I know you have to.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Kenya, what about you? Have you?
Well, one of the things that I read this for the first time when I was very young. I was still at high school, and one of the things that I marked when I was reading the book is I'm gonna read in Spanish and then I'm gonna translate. Veo el mundo de la manera que desearía que sucedieran las cosas y no de la manera como realmente suceden. I see the world on the way that I would like for things to happen and not as things are really happening. And at that point in my life, I related a lot with that, but I was so young and so naive with so many things. And now that I'm older, when I see back this quote that I mark, I have realized that, this is when the bar owner was trying to tell him that the thief was going to do that to him but they didn't speak the same language. So he was trying to explain to him that he's no good, but he was so pure and good that he didn't saw that what the owner of the bar was trying to tell him. So life is like that's a life like lesson for me, and I still naive sometimes, but I try to be a little more open to all the variants in everyone. And I am a certain way, all the people around me will be like me. So
yeah, the instance she's talking about is, so he sells all of his sheep and he's got 60 pieces of gold in his satchel, and he meets a stranger in, think of like Turkey, right? Istanbul. No, where he was like in you can just imagine a big, huge market, lots of colors.
Mm-hmm.
This is a shepherd that has sheep. So he's like overwhelmed with all of the people and the trading and the markets. And he meets this guy, and the guy says, I can take you to Egypt. I can take you to the pyramids. How much money do you have? And the guy goes, I have 60 pieces of gold in my satchel. And you're like going, don't tell him. It's like in the horror movies. Don't go up the stairs to the attic. Right. And he's telling the guy, and he goes, let me hold the money. And the bartender is screaming in a foreign language, yelling at the kid, making hand gestures and dirty faces to the thief. And the kid is just, and the thief is telling the kid, oh, he's just jealous that you're going on an adventure. Oh, and the kid is so naive, and they go out into the marketplace, and, mayhem happens, and the kid turns around and the thief's gone with all of his money. Right. And he's like, oh, darn. Now what do I do? I'm in a foreign country. I don't speak the language, and I just lost all the money.
Yeah.
Right. But what was interesting is he met a king who gave him 2 pieces of like a crystal and a ruby or something. Right.
Yeah, Urim and Turim.
Yeah. And no one ever stole that. He kept that all the way to the end, those 2 pieces. And he felt like those were his good luck charms. But how often, though, have you in business or in life, we are stubborn sometimes, right? We're stubborn, and someone is trying to give us advice, and maybe they're not communicating it in the language that we need them to, and we shut them down. And maybe we should be listening, right, for the hidden message, right?
So on this point of naivety, and it's actually a Beth story as well. So there's another quote that's on the same theme, and it's today I understand something I didn't see before. Every blessing ignored becomes a curse. And to relate that to my story and with Beth is that I work for a real estate developer in Manhattan, and Beth came on and was talking about how, throughout her life, she's had mentors and stuff like that. And she gave an example of her boss and how he was a mentor to her. And I was like, well, Beth, I have a boss, and, I don't know how to make him my mentor. Like I've been working for the guy for 10 years. And of course I pick up what I can, but that's not an easy conversation to have. And I was too naive to recognize for those 10 years, I was too naive to even recognize that he was there, and he was an opportunity, and he was something. Instead, it was serving as a curse, so to speak, right? Because it was taking away from my objectives. It was me having to do my 9 to 5 plus everything else I want to do in my life. Whereas I could be learning in my 9 to 5 and contributing to my additional desires, right? And Beth said that, and I was like, yeah, I should do that. And then she gave me the pointer of having a meeting with him, one-on-one meetings with him, where I can pick his brain and stuff. And I was scared, but I did it. And I said, hey, can we, I would like to have these one-on-ones so I can understand you better and your needs better, but also so you can kind of answer questions on what you're doing. And of course, he said yes. He's not a mean guy. So, it was illogical fear, right? But I think the theme of naivety is still very prevalent in my life, and still a lot of opportunities to see things and make my own luck, right? By recognizing where I am a little blind and naive.
Well, and I think that's all of us, right? When I started buying real estate, God, I was so scared, and people, men and people, mostly men, said, you can't do it. You can't do it. Like, it's too hard. It's too complicated, and you're not good at math. I had mentors telling me, you're not good at math. So I absolutely had in my mind, I can't buy real estate. I'm not good at math. I let them tell me that. So, and every time I talk to women about buying real estate, not that I don't want to talk to men about buying real estate, but men, there's this statistic from Headhunters that I love. It says, if a man is applying for a job and he's got 50% of the skills for the job, he will walk into that job interview and act like he's, got 100% of the skills. And if a woman is applying for the job, she could have 80% of the skills and she'll walk in with the confidence that she has 20. It's, crazy, but it's scary to try and do something new, even though in all the parts of your being that you should be doing this. Kathleen, when you were getting promoted through the system at Baptist, like, were you scared at certain points when they're like, we think you can go do this job? Did you I remember when Steven said, I want you to be the president of Terra Nova, like, I can't be the president of Terra Nova. So other people had more confidence in me than I thought I was ready for.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. So you and I both have English degrees.
Yes.
And so we can read a contract, we can tear it apart, we can't add or subtract. But I did have some really good mentors throughout my life. And actually, my first real estate job was in property accounting. And I loved it. And so you know what? Nobody told me that I couldn't do math. I just thought I couldn't do math because obviously I majored in English, and then I went on and got a business degree and so forth. But I do think that at Baptist, probably why I've been with Baptist for so long is I have a boss that knows that she's got to keep things interesting. I get bored. And I can tell you, I have had so many interesting projects that I never fathomed when I first started off in real estate that I would be working on. And this year, I have a new project I've never done before. I'm not allowed to say anything yet, but in a few months, I'll let everybody know. I've never done it before, and I think as the years go by, I don't panic. I know there'll be mistakes. But you put together a really good team, you ask a lot of questions, you pay for the consultants, and you just muddle through it. And you do know you're going to make some mistakes, but they're usually not that bad.
Right.
And I haven't messed up too terribly in my career. But I think when you realize it's exciting, I got a new project, I'm going to figure it out. I know I will make some mistakes. It's okay. And then you just go through it.
I think that is such wise advice. I so believe that absolutely we all make mistakes, but of course we're not going to do it perfectly, especially when we're trying and doing something new and learning. Yeah. Right? So a couple other quotes that I wrote down. It's the possibility of having a dream come true that makes life interesting. How true is that, right? If we didn't have dreams, just like what Kathleen said, it would be a very boring world out there. We have to have dreams and do new things. There is only one thing that makes a dream impossible. Oh, I said that already, to achieve. It's the fear of failure. This was great. This is so true. The secret of life, though, is to fall 7 times, but get up 8. Right? You got to get up more times than you fall, right? When we strive to become better than we are, everyone around us becomes better too. And all of those of us that lead people or have children, how important is that? We all have to strive to become better and not be complacent. And that rubs off on everyone around us.
I think that's why people are attracted to those people that are always looking to grow, that are always looking to face their fears. That is the compelling side of the protagonist, right?
100%. I just love to read. Obviously, English major, as Kathleen said, I've been reading my whole life, and my fear at turning 60 this year, crazy, is the whole physically fit, healthy lifestyle. I work more than I exercise, and I don't really like exercise. It's a combination of a fear and not liking it so much. So I'm doing this biking that, a mile per day. So today, 18 miles. So I finished 11 miles this morning, and this afternoon I'll go out and finish the remaining 7. It's harder in December. I did this in August. It was a lot easier because it was daylight savings time. So I don't want to be riding my bike at night. So I, have to set time. But my reward, my dessert is I get to listen to a lot of books. It's because I'm hours on that bike. So whether it's podcasts, I try to not be on the phone. Like today I had a coaching call, so I was on the phone for 20 minutes of it. But that was my treat to myself is, well, if I do it in December, the last week is definitely slower. That unlike things that you do for 30 days, usually it gets easier. This doesn't get easier because the miles are increased. But I'm like, I'm going to get to read hours or listen to hours and hours and hours and hours of books. I've already read 4 books. So that was my treat to do this again to myself. I won't be doing it again. But I'm glad I'm afraid, truly, am I going to finish it? It is harder. It's colder, it's windier, there's there's obstacles. I've already done it. What do I have to prove to myself? But I'm hoping I finish it, but I have fear that I'm not going to finish it and then I'll be embarrassed. So, but hopefully I'll finish it. And my joy is reading. So I love to read, and people like, how do you read so many books? Well, I'm on the bike. So this month it's easy because I'm, there's not much. It's not like when I'm walking, I can do my posts, my videos for Instagram or LinkedIn. You can't do that when you're riding a bike. You got to focus.
Yeah.
So
on that note, I just did a webinar with like a fitness expert or whatever, and he kind of said something similar that, if your objective, not necessarily like weight loss goals and stuff, I think that's a whole nother level, but if your objective is just to be healthy and fit and all you need to do is move, just do something that you enjoy. So like what you were saying, listening to the books motivates you. So if that helps encourage you that you will not fail, I hope it does, because this is something that he's like this big fitness trainer out in LA, and he does all the celebrities. And he said that that's something that increases the likelihood of success. And it reminded me of like, I don't really like running or walking's whatever, but I don't really care for running. So what I started doing was I'll run on the treadmill with my music on, and I'll get silly about it, right? And I'll just start doing like random movements and whatever. And it increases my heart rate, and 2, it kind of distracts me from, oh, my legs hurt, so, and it has helped me run more frequently. I mean, so I hope that helps you, Beth, to continue and not fail.
Yeah, in August, I had always wanted to read Atlas Shrugged. And I don't know, Kathleen, if you ever read it in college. I never had to read it in college because I was doing, British literature and American literature. I never had to read it, but I always wanted to read it. But it's, it's like 600 pages or something. So I was very excited that I listened to like 15 hours this, in August when I was biking, and I finally got to, who is John, whatever, Galt. Who's John Galt? Did you read that, Kathleen? Atlas Shrugged?
So I'm gonna give away deep dark secrets. So Beth and I went to FSU. So I'm like the same age as Beth. At the end of next year, I'll be that big number too. And we were both English majors and lived in the sorority houses next to each other. And I also did British literature. So when I graduated,
probably in the same classes.
Probably in the same class. And they weren't that big, but 8 o'clock classes, my eyes weren't open anyway. And I went off, and I think for me, the best master's program I could have done is I graduated from school. I went to IBM, and that's a whole nother story. I worked there for a while and then left to travel throughout Europe, especially the United Kingdom, and go back. Because back then we had not only English classes, we had humanities, and go back and look at, and obviously I could tell I had to go into real estate, all the architecture and the art and everything and so forth. And so now I do development and I do it for care, but I take those things. First says that a large degree does help you in life, and you look at that overall picture. And you look at, what you're going to give back to the community, and then that building shapes you. And I think Winston Churchill, has a quote like that. But back to your exercising, I listen to Audible. I don't bike, I walk. So I have one book that I'm listening to with Audible, and I try not to be on the phone calls either. Then the second book is usually my daughter and I walk together. And if we're not chit-chatting, then we're following, and she's got me, she's much younger than me, and she's into a whole nother, genre. And she's got me into other books that I would never have picked. And they are really good and interesting and so forth. So I think that, you can squeeze in opportunities either to meditate or do something different or get your mind someplace else. And for my daughter and I, it's a way to connect. She works long hours. She works for an architect firm. So, she needs to have that disconnect too.
I love that. That's great that you and her have that bond.
Yes. Yes. And she's also an English major.
Who said you needed to have math to be in real estate? Who said that?
Who said that? She works for an architect firm, and she's a project coordinator, and and now she's going back, obviously to get a degree in architecture. But hey, it's a stepping.
So any of the folks on the call have any stories about like an omen? Because boy, that was a big theme in this book. And you could, as you're listening to the book or reading the book, you're like, oh, that's an omen. It definitely, anybody, Timothy, have you had omens in your life or signs in your life where you said, oh, I think someone's trying to tell me something?
Let me think about it. I can't think. I know that I've had them all the time because I absolutely rely on intuition and omens. So I'm paying attention to them all the time. But to just tell you one, I can't right now because I'm getting so many.
How did you create that as a habit that you did that? Because I think with the noise we have in our world, you really, I mean, do you meditate? Do you quiet yourself? How do you pay attention? Because I think that is an art and a skill that I think I would have to develop that. Like I try to listen, but there's so much things going on, I don't know if I'm very good at quieting myself to listen. How did you do it? Have you done it your whole life?
I've done it my whole life. I'll tell a little secret. I'm ADHD. I've always lived on my instincts, picking up on little things that most people wouldn't. So once those things, and I've always believed that sometimes when we get those gut reactions, we've picked up on 15, 20 little micro things that got us there. So follow your gut. And I've always believed that since I was a little kid.
Was there a time you didn't, and then you went, oh, I knew I should have followed my gut and I didn't?
No, I don't think so.
Good for you.
I believe in the whole zen of everything. What will be, will be. When it happens, it happens. Calm down, because when you start trying to push, you're going to find that you're trying to push a square peg in a round hole. And guess what? It's going to take you twice as long to get there.
So this
Very
is
wise. That's wise advice. Nicole, what do you think about that?
This is something that it's funny that Timothy says that he's so good at it, because I feel like I'm so not. So my gut's almost like, I've started to try this. It doesn't always work because, but if my gut says something, I usually do the opposite, because usually when I follow my gut, it doesn't work out. But I would, I want to learn your trick, Timothy. I really do, because I mean, not that the world doesn't, but somebody whose gut usually leads them in the wrong way. I'm like this. I've always been, again, speaking to the naivety and stuff. I've always been like an open heart, right? I wear my heart on my sleeve. I tell everybody anything because I don't care, whatever. And then in turn, I think people are like that, right? And I just trust, and it's horrible at times, because the world's not like that. And I would love the better guidance on how to
I think it goes back to a book that I read when I was a teenager also, that solidified it. And it was written by Howard Thurman. And he says, make the best decision you can at the time based on the information that you have at the time. If tomorrow, after you made that decision, there's more information, well, you didn't have it at the time. So guess what? You keep it moving. Then you just go to plan B.
That's awesome.
Nicole, I think I would recommend that you journal. I bet that when you say, when I go with my gut, it doesn't work out. I think that you should start journaling that. I find that hard to believe. I think that it may be, you read the book, right? So that kid who got his money stolen could have easily said, I went with my gut, it didn't work out, and I went back and bought one sheep and started all over. Maybe you didn't go far enough in the path. You got stopped because it was a test, and you retreated instead of, he went forward, and he had a lot more tests, but had he not had all of those tests on the path, he wouldn't have gotten to his eventual goal of seeing the pyramids and then going home to the treasure, right? Which, we've always heard the treasure is always in our backyard, right? We've been digging, and we give up 2 inches from the treasure. But I think maybe start journaling that. I bet you're not giving yourself enough credit. Fight through the obstacle and get to the next.
That really speaks to me for a couple of reasons. One, I journal every morning because I find it so impactful, but I have never journaled that. And it speaks to something else that I've been working on and will probably perpetually be working on, but that negative speak, right? You just made me realize that I was putting that in a very negative context. And usually when I journal something negative, it will eventually come down to a positive, because in the end, I'm lying to myself and the negative narrative is a lie. So that's a very good idea. I will journal it, and I'm sure you're right. I'm sure it'll end up leading to something bigger. I think that's awesome. And also Timothy's advice I wrote down. It's amazing. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Timothy, what was the name of that Howard Thurman book?
I honestly, I can't remember. And I've gone back and I've tried to find it because I have his entire collection. I just remember that one thing was just so impactful that I stopped beating up on myself when I make certain mistakes.
Would you say that was the book that made the most impact in your life, or was there another one?
I think that was the one. The one where I stopped beating myself up for making decisions or making mistakes.
Yeah, the Walmart guy, I'm trying to think of his name. What was the Walmart guy's name?
Wasn't it Walton or something?
Yeah. Whoever, that guy, I read his book years ago, and
Sam Walton.
Yeah, Walton, thank you, Sam Walton. And Sam said, if I went into the stores and I made a decision and I realized, in 24 hours, it was the bad decision, I changed the decision. And I didn't let my embarrassment of what people thought about me changing my mind. I wouldn't let that stop me from saying, I messed up. This was the wrong thing. Let's move. That has impacted me for my whole career, because too many people get stubborn or stuck with a decision they made because they don't want to say, I was wrong. I'm the leader. I'm supposed to be perfect, which none of us are. But a lot of people don't change their minds or don't say, that was a bad decision, I need to change it. And I learned that from the Walmart book. So, Kathleen, what book was the most impactful in your life?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, it caught me off guard. I go, do you remember? And I'm thinking, this is when I was very young, and one of my bosses gave it to me, and I'm gonna mess up the title. Remember, is it Swimming with the Sharks?
Yeah, I love that book.
that.
Harvey McKay.
Yes. Yes. And then now I'm throwing a blank and I read it. Well, for one that I read this year that has meant a lot to me. And I didn't realize this. I finally got around to reading Michelle Obama's through Audible book, Becoming. And there's parts that she talks about her life and what she thought she couldn't do. And then she was able to do it, even though she didn't want to be in politics and do all these things, but she supported her husband and so forth, how she over prepared and all of that was, kind of her background and growing up and trying to be perfect and etc. But what I found her book so valuable this year, the timing that I decided to finally get around on my long list to read it, was everything that they went through as they went into becoming, transitioning into the White House, that we don't understand all that nitty gritty. And now that we're here at this stepping stone, where this transition is happening, I don't think I would appreciate what you're seeing in the news when, for a while, handling that transition and what that means and how maybe the US could be vulnerable right now. I would never understood that if I hadn't read her book and know all those details before January. So is it my favorite book? No, but these are just, you caught me off guard and those jumped out at me.
No sweat, no sweat. Well, it's 12:21 and I like to end this at 12:20, but let me tell you next month's book. I just started it yesterday on the bike. Start with Why, How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action by Simon Sinek. So, and then what I'm really excited about February's book, because it's really different. It's called Breath by James Nestor. There's this thing going around about breath. I have no idea, but it's called The New Science of a Lost Art. So I am very excited because that's going to be very different from all of the books we've ever read. So those are the next two books. Start with Why will be on January 22nd. So I hope you guys can join. Thanks for joining today. And have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever holiday you celebrate. And I hope I see you guys next month. And bye.